If I told you my name, you would not recognize it. I'm only known as the man born blind in the Bible, and that's how most people refer to me on the street. You have to realize that for me, to be born blind meant one of two things. Either it was because of something I did, some sin that I committed in my mother's womb, or punishment for something that my father or his father or any of the fathers in this family line had done. To be blind meant I was an outcast. The only life open to me was the life of a beggar, and it didn't take long to realize how people felt about beggars. The pity, the disdain, the mockery, taunting all the time, until soon I began to realize that I was worse than useless. Because I was a burden upon everyone around me. There was no hope. None at all. The only hope for me and any of us who were blind was a miracle of God. And that didn't seem very likely. Yet, this is exactly where my story begins. Everyone had heard of this man, Jesus. Some said he was a great teacher. Some spoke of his compassion like no other man had. Others said, "Stay away from him. He's a heretic, a blasphemer. Don't be seen with him, whatever you do." All of a sudden, though, there he was. Oh, I couldn't see him, at least not yet. I was blind. But I heard the people talking. The crowds pressing in. I knew he was approaching me. At least I thought so. Then I heard those disciples ask that question that I had heard so many times before. Who sinned, they said, this man or his parents, since he was born blind? I despised that question. It heaped shame upon shame on me. It was a question that haunted me every day of my life. Why? Why was I born blind? What could I have done in my mother's womb that was so terrible? Or if my father sinned, why would I have to be punished for that? But then I heard something new, something different. Jesus answered, and he said, Neither this man nor his parents sinned, but he was born blind in order that the work of God might be made visible in him. I didn't know what he was talking about. And then he said something that would make sense in a moment. He said, while I am in the world, I am the light of the world. What a glorious word this was, light. I had heard people talk about light. I had felt the warmth of the sun on a hot day. But light, what was light? Would I ever know? I was told later that this Jesus of Nazareth came close to me, spit on the ground, reached down and made mud with his spit and the dust. He pressed it into my eyes. I was afraid, not sure what he was doing. Maybe I should get up and run away, I remember thinking. And he said to me, "Go and wash in the pool of Siloam." Just a little pool of water outside your present wall of Jerusalem now. Some people took me by the hand and guided me to the pool. I leaned down, washed the mud from my eyes, and for the first time, my eyes were open. I could see. I could see. I could actually see. Light poured in. I looked at the sky, and I saw what others had told me was blue. I could see colors, flowers, people, and their faces. That day, I felt like I knew what it was like to be born. For the first time in my life, I could see. I was blind, but now, because of this Jesus, I could see. You would think that others would have rejoiced in my good fortune. But the Pharisees wanted to dismiss the whole thing, disregard me even further, determined to prove that this did not happen. They tried to get me to admit that this Jesus of Nazareth was a sinner, that I should instead give glory to God. Well, I didn't care if he was a sinner or not. He had opened my eyes. They couldn't take this away from me or change the fact that I had been blind, and now I could see. You would think, wouldn't you, that others would have been rejoicing for me and with me. Not so. Most turned away from me, even my own parents, afraid to speak of what Jesus had done, protecting themselves so they would not be put out of the synagogue, especially since my healing took place on the Sabbath. They did not stand by me. "Let him answer for himself. He is of age," they said. "Don't ask us." Everyone seemed to be against me. Taunting, heckling, accusing, until I finally had had enough. I looked at them and said, "Why are you so interested in this Jesus of Nazareth? Would you like to become his disciple too?" And I pressed them even further. What an extraordinary thing that this man is able to open the eyes of the blind, something that only God can do, and you, who are the religious leaders, know nothing about him. Isn't that amazing? This threw them into a rage, and they threw me out of the synagogue for life. It didn't matter, because Jesus had healed me, and I would not betray him now. It was at this point, my lowest point, that Jesus came back to me. He looked at me and he said, "Do you believe in the Son of Man?" And I said, "Lord, who is he? Tell me, and I will believe." Then he said to me, "You have seen him. The one who is speaking to you is he." And I fell down on my knees and said, "Lord, I believe." It took me a while, but I realized that my blindness that day had only been partially healed. It would not be until after his resurrection that my eyes would be opened even further. And then I could see that this Jesus was not just for me, or just the religious people, or just a few, but had come for all. For you. This has made all the difference in my life. I was blind, and now I can see.